Hi, I'm Jason Blake, and I'll be going over the Flash Toolpath screen here that's in beta version, and I'll just quickly go over and demonstrate how it works. On the top left-hand side is the actual directory to load the file from. Once you load a file, it'll be stored here, and then you can click load, or you can type in the new directory or file name. Now, a little bit easier is, for example, if the files that I included for you to test with, if you open your G-code file inside of Windows, and then just simply drag and drop that into the screen, will automatically load that file or that particular G code. And then, for example, if you were to close that out, it'll store the position of the last file that was loaded, and you can click load and then load that back in. Now, the clear function will actually clear out the drawing but keep the G-code data, so when you're simulating, it'll start drawing out your particular part, and I'll explain that a little bit better here. Reset world will actually force it to fit that part, and let me actually reset my pattern so we can see it. So for example, if I use my middle mouse wheel to zoom out really far and I maybe get lost and I pan it over and I can't find myself, just click on Reset World, and that'll force it to fit within within your screen. And it's a little bit to the right and off the screen, and that's because I'm zeroing it from this point, and I need to actually work on that code so it zeroes perfectly center. The reset pattern is when we get into the manipulation that I get a little bit better into here with the G code. Reset pattern will change it to its original default value when you first imported it, or if later you saved it. So the reset is to bring that in there. We'll start on the left hand side. Our grid is actually our table, our actual table here. So this is represents our machine table. Currently it's 15 by 15, but let's say, for example, maybe my machine has a 25 width by a 15 height in inches or in millimeters, whichever you have the set to. Then you can see it automatically changes to that new value to display your machine extremities. You can also change the transparency of that grid with the alpha settings, the line thickness, and the color. And I'll add in a color picker here, and the spacings. Currently I'm at about a 1/4 of an inch spacings for these. Let's say I just wanted to snap to grid my part to every 1 inch. Then that will, by clicking the update, then we'll update any changes you made. And you can see this is 1 inches apart. But let's keep it about 0.25 for later going over some stuff. And then there's our table, 25 by 15. So once you're done updating, these are draggable. All the windows are draggable and are closable, and going up here, we'll then drop down the main menu to open up submenus. Our DROs, we've got one here called Table DRO. It tells us the width and height of our table, which is 25 by 15, and it shows us the location from 0, which is registered in the top left corner up here, very top corner. That's our 0, and then working our way out, you can see I'm 16. For example, 16 inches or 15 inches by 10 inches is right in this location where my mouse is right now. The pattern location is the width and height of the current pattern, and its X and Y positioning in relation to its own 0. So I can see where the pattern exists in relation to its own 0, and then I can also see where the pattern is positioned on the actual machine table. So basically, machine coordinates as opposed to offset coordinates. This makes it very visibly easy to understand those things. Now we have our machine, which is actually should be called tool, and I'll change that. And this is our tool here, this yellow circle, which can be changed out in different graphics. As you see, when I move it, it'll actually tell me, sorry, a little bit hard to grab here, its new position in relation to the table. And you can zoom in using your middle mouse wheel and just grab it. Make sure you're not grabbing the table. Those are little bugs that I want to fix. And grab it, and you can move that around. Now, in reality, if you're hooked up to a machine, there's no way you're going to be able to grab and move this around, unless that's one of the features you would like, to be able to drag this and have your machine move around depending on where you place that. You have your offsets, which actually is your tool diameter and the offsets in relation to the actual part. So for example, if I move this part over here, you can see my offsets change. So that's from machine positioning. Alright, so that's the DROs, and I'm going to actually leave this up. This is also movable once again, but I like to keep it right up here on top. And we're going to take a look at our jog feature. That's going to actually jog our tool, and just by holding down the button, then we'll jog our tool around. 0 is currently the fastest speed, and then you work your way up. 1 would be about every second it updates, the moves it, for example, and of course that'll be changed. Then we have our pan. which is actually pan, zoom, and rotate is for your world. For example, I'm in pan mode, so when I click over here, I will be panning the stage. If I go on zoom mode, if I move my cursor up or down, will then zoom in and out. Now this is zooming to this point as my 0. That's something else that I need to update in the toolpath. So wherever your cursor is, it'll zoom to. Currently it does not do that, but I will be adding that in. Usually I use my pan and I use my mouse wheel to actually zoom in and out. So that's that, and I'll close that. Let's take a look at our scale tool. Now the scale tool is to manipulate files. So if I click on this file and I decide that I want to scale from center, because currently it'll scale from any point that you pull from that opposite point. So I'm pulling and I'm scaling from this point to this point. If I scale from center, now when I scale it, it's scaling it from the center outwards. If I tell it to force proportional, it'll make sure that I cannot scale it unproportionally, of course. If I lock position, I cannot drag it, but I can scale it, but it locks its position. If I lock rotation, I can then scale it, but I cannot rotate it. And usually there's a rotation icon that will come up. If I lock scale, then it will not scale, but I can then rotate. And so those are kind of nice features if you're trying to get something just right. Oversized handles, if you are on a touchscreen, this is kind of nice. It's a lot bigger to be able to grab that. And then of course you can change the color to red, and maybe I'll add in a little bit more options, but not really necessary. And of course this can be dragged as well and placed. And it'll remember wherever you drag it, even if you close it down. Units are your millimeters or inches. Run screen, the way this works is when we start running the part, it'll create a green outline and move your tool. So let's say, for example, I just grab this and I move this over here. It will automatically move into position to the location that you actually moved it. So if I'm in the middle of running my part and I go, I need to nudge this over and I need to rotate this a little bit, even though I'm in the middle of my part, it will still update and figure that out. I could even rotate it and scale it up, and it will follow that. So while you're in the middle of a part, you could scale, rotate, manipulate the file, all that you want. This says the current line, the total lines. This is draggable too. And you can also come in here and clear it. And so now that we've cleared it, we see that our part gets highlighted even though we don't see it. Now when we start running our part, you can start seeing it being drawn out. Little bit of features here. Now, what I'm going to be adding in is red for the rapid, and then different colors for the different modes that we're in. This is just currently in beta. Now, this zoom over here tells you where you are zoomed in relation to the world, as you can see. And so you can run through your part like this, or you can just drag and drop this too to create your part and seeing what it looks like. Now I've skewed it and messed with the part. I can also click reset pattern, and that'll just reset that. And our tool, this is that part here, our tool here. I'll zoom in there. Now it's currently at 1 inch by 1 inch, 0.25 for your 1/4 inch tool update, and that'll update that in relation to the size of your tool. I'll also add in where the graphics will change depending on the tool number, and allow you to set these parameters all that you want. That should be the overview of it. If for any reason you find any issues or anything, just let me know, and it is a work in progress, but I should have it done pretty soon. Oh, I wanted to go over here. You can drag your part by the actual object or by the home position. That's what this green dot is. That's saying that's where your 0 point is. So I can say I want my home right here, or I can grab my part and say I want my part here, and then it'll tell you where the home needs to be in relation. All right, thank you very much.